Hey folks, today I would like to talk to you about one of the options for our first essay on self-discipline slash self-control. Okay, we'll talk about those two words and how they're related in a minute. This is all under the broad umbrella of the first essay called agency. And in this essay, we'll be looking at not responsibility, but self-discipline, self-control. However, by the way, while you're writing this essay, if you're like, some of these areas about self-discipline, self-control, they're actually related to responsibility, and I want to use the word responsibility. You can do that as well, okay? There's a clear link between the two, which is why they're under the broad umbrella, okay? So let's take us through that essay, or possibilities, okay? This is not how to write the essay, but some ideas, okay? And if you notice, there's a lot of similarities between how to write this essay and how to write the essay on responsibility. That's because that's standard for the first essay, okay? So first off, I want to make sure you understand the concept of agency first. So if you have not already done so, please make sure you watch the video and or look at the PowerPoint notes on what does agency mean. Okay, make sure you've kind of read the overview, you understand that general sense. Okay, if you would like for this essay to define self-control or self-discipline or both, you may. I would strongly recommend you do not begin the essay with a dictionary definition. So if you want to have a dictionary definition of either of these words, I would put it in later in the essay, maybe near the end of the first paragraph, maybe in the opening body paragraph, but I wouldn't begin with it because it's kind of stale. And just so we know, self-control and self-discipline technically mean two different things. I would not spend a lot of time in this essay separating them. They're pretty much similar, more similar than they are different. So if you want to use the term self-control and self-discipline interchangeably in this essay, that is fine with me. I know there's some distinctions, but they're like more higher, fine-tuned, and I wouldn't recommend spending too much time dealing with that. It's the general concept that's important for this essay, okay? So, like with your other essays, what I would recommend, you of course have a good solid opening paragraph, thinking about all the things we talk about and the basics of the essay, video, and some of those PowerPoints and things like that. Good, solid concluding paragraph. All those things that you've learned and that I talk about, keep them. What most people like to do for this essay and for all the essays this semester is focus on making each body paragraph, whether you have 3 or 4, which most people will probably have, make it focus on one particular element of this virtue, okay? And so you want to make sure, of course, that you have good transitions between sections. I talk about that in one of my other videos in the basics of the essay module. So make sure you're aware of that. All the good things that go into a solid essay, of course, fit in this essay, okay? So what we're going to focus on for this essay, self-control, self-discipline in this video, if I use those terms interchangeably, that's fine. What a lot of people like to do is they like to have a section, maybe the whole essay or maybe a specific paragraph, about ways in which self-discipline or self-control are important to your particular personal life, okay? For this essay, you can use I, me, mine when you're talking about yourself because they've happened to you or that you exercise them in your own particular life. It's much more effective to say, I use self-control instead of saying you use self-control because you don't want to tell the reader what to do, okay? So if you want to give specific elements of your life where you exercise or where you need to exercise self-control or self-discipline, you can certainly do that, okay? How do you actually do that? If you want to take the reader through like your train of thought, as you're thinking about, okay, I want to do this, but I know I shouldn't, or I know I don't want to do this, but I kind of want to. How do you kind of tell yourself or control your will or discipline your will to do the things you're supposed to do and then you know you should do and not do the things that you shouldn't, okay? And you might want to certainly recommend, like, how does it improve your life? When you exercise self-control or self-discipline, how does it actually improve your life? And be specific, okay? Keep it focused on your specific life if you would prefer. I think you're going to find it's a lot easier. You're going to be able to be much more specific. Instead of talking about people in general, talk about yourself. Think about your own life, areas in which you have exercised self-control or self-discipline. How has it made your life better? If you would like to use examples of times you failed to have self-control or self-discipline, you can certainly do that as well. Okay? And these are not an exhaustive list of areas where you might want to focus on self-control or self-discipline, but this is some good ideas to think about. And by the way, these are often similar to the things we talk about in the responsibility essay. So thinking about our own personal habits, the things we eat, the things we drink, the amount of sleep we get, our use of technology, phones, whatever. We have to be, as we get older, controlling our usage or our lack of usage of these things. When we were infants, we ate whatever we were given. We drank whatever we were told to do. We went to sleep when our family said, go to sleep, okay? So we get older, we have more responsibility in our lives. That means we have to show more self-control or self-discipline, okay? So I'm just going to use this example. If you say, there are times when I tell myself before I go to sleep, put the phone down, stop scrolling, and then I start scrolling because I get one alert. And next thing I know, it's 5 hours later and I've been scrolling for the last 5 hours. I need to tell myself to not do that. Talk about that, okay? On the other hand, some people say, you know what? I have a little policy now when I'm studying. I take my phone, I put it in my other room. I shut the door, I turn it off, whatever. That's the way I discipline myself to do whatever I need to do and not be distracted by that, okay? For those of you who are athletes in particular, but all of us, think about activities, exercising, studying, working. How does an athlete, we use that as an example, how does an athlete have to discipline or control his or herself and his body and his or her life to be a better athlete? We'll just use that as an example, okay? Because it has activities here, work, hobbies. We'll just use athletes as an example, okay? Your coach can say, I need you to do this. You have to do that. And you might do it because the coach is telling you to do that. But how about when you aren't told you have to do those things? How does a successful athlete put in the extra time, put in the extra reps, whatever it is to improve? That can be in our jobs, in our studying, in our activities, whatever it is to improve. And it's not because someone's telling me to do it. It's because I have to tell myself. It's self-control, okay? Similarly, emotional, attitudinal, mental. I could even put spiritual in there, okay? We are humans. We have a will. We have a human will that we can control. Sometimes we might say, I want to lose my temper. I want to get angry. I'm upset. I can't. Maybe it's at work. Maybe we have a customer who's frustrating. I want to yell. I want to scream. I want to leave. How do I tell myself I have to stick to it? I have to work through it. If I'm an athlete, going back to the athletics, because I know a lot of you might be athletes, I'm on the court, I'm on the field, someone commits a cheap foul against me, the referee didn't call it. I really want to get back at that person and take a cheap shot. I can't do it. I got to control myself, got to control my body, got to control my emotions, the words I say, because if I don't, I'll hurt my team, I'll hurt my performance, whatever it is. How about it with our families? We have to show self-control, self-discipline. We all have family and friends. They might get on our nerves sometimes, okay? It's very likely they do, especially people we love. Sometimes we might say, you know what? If I want this relationship to be positive, sometimes I have to control what I want. Maybe it's not about what I want. It's about what other people need, okay? Or I want to say this to my friend. I think it'll feel good when I say it. But if I say it, it's going to hurt the relationship. I need to tell myself, I need to control myself and say, don't say it. Once it's said, it can't be taken back, okay? So for a lot of you, you might want to pick 3 areas of your own life and focus on self-discipline and self-control. If you just want to call that the essay, make 3 body paragraphs, you can certainly do that. For some of you, you might want to, and if you don't want to do this for the first essay, it might be something you work on as we move on throughout the semester. You might want to consider, like, a community. Why is it important in a community, whether that's a neighborhood, a town, a community, a society? Why is it important that we have, in general, not just for me, but for the community or neighborhood or whatever it is, that we have a lot of people who can show self-control or self-discipline? Why should we hope that other people in our community have these virtues? I'll give you an example, a really easy example for us to understand, okay? Can we give examples that we have actually seen of people exercising self-control or maybe failing to exercise self-control? So like here's a good example for anyone who is ever on a road, a public road, driving, or even just in a car. I can control myself when I'm behind the wheel of a car. My mindset, whether I'm taking something that's going to alter my perceptions of the road, I can control that. And I can say, I'm going to drive safely. And I do that. What if there are people out there who have not shown self-control and get behind the wheel when they're angry or distracted or drunk or whatever it is? Okay, they can do damage to me no matter how disciplined a driver I am. There are people out on the road who do not have that self-control or discipline and get behind the wheel when they are not in control. They can hurt me, hurt my loved ones, hurt the community. So it's not just about me, but it's just like the community is better off when more people get behind the wheel of a car when they have self-control and can discipline themselves. Okay? There's other examples. That's not the only example you have to use. I'm sure you can all think of examples of how a community is better when more people show self-discipline. Okay? And finally, you do not have to talk about this for this essay, but this is a little more of like a higher order thinking. We might want to think about, why is it important in a strong republic, a democratic country built on Republican virtues, for the citizens, not just the politicians, they're citizens too, but the citizens to have self-control or self-discipline when we vote, when we engage in any kind of civic life? How do we promote these virtues in our fellow citizens, whether it's people in the military, whether the people we elect to government, whether it's the way we interact with the rest of our community, our neighbors, our colleagues, our coworkers, all those things. How do those virtues strengthen our democracy? If you don't want to deal with that for this first essay, you might want to delay it to later on. But for some of you, you might want to think about, like, how is our democracy better when more people, when they interact with the civic world, have self-discipline? Okay? Finally, like I said in all the other essays, if you're going to quote, paraphrase, or summarize outside sources, even using the dictionary, you have to supply in-text citations. What specific dictionary did you get this from? If you use any in-text citations, which many of you do, whether they're the readings from our texts or outside sources, you do need to create a works cited or references page. I do not mind if you use APA or MLA, whichever method you are more comfortable with, but make sure you are consistent and do it properly. That's a key skill to learn for this semester. All right, best of luck. Thanks.